Welcome back to the Stebbins Garage YouTube channel. In part one of this video of plumbing, we worked on the power steering and did some things with the coolant. We mixed in some of the fuel system. We're gonna finish that up today because I wanna get this thing started. I hope you'll stick around. Like I said, I found my fuel pressure regulator. The bottom line is gonna be the return. The line there is going to go to our fuel rail, and then this line is going to be our feed. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to drill into the shock tower. I kind of don't want to, and I'm thinking maybe instead I make a mount and just use one of the existing holes. So I think I'm going to explore that possibility first, where I basically just make a mount that goes there and then goes straight down just an elbow. I don't think that'll be a big deal to make. I'm going to take some measurements and fab something up. Well, I've wasted a bit of time on this bracket. It actually is a nice bracket. Originally I just made this part and it was real flimsy, so I made a brace, and then I decided this is really ugly, and well, let me show you. So I was planning to just mount it here, and there's the holes. They all line up great, and I'm sure that would be fine, but at the end of the day, there's really no reason I shouldn't just go ahead and use the bracket that came with it and mount it to here. The only caveat to that is I need to order a riv nut tool that will get in here. The one I have is I guess a straight on one, and I need an angled one. So I'm gonna just wait on this, do it the right way, and order the tool, and I'll just, whatever's in the fender well, I'll just touch it up black. I think that's the cleanest option, and so that's what I'm gonna go with. Kind of hate that I wasted, I don't know, an hour and a half, but at least I know I can make a bracket. I even riveted part of it. Our fuel pressure regulator is mounted. That's about the best spot I can come up with that isn't on the firewall. I still need to put my gauge in, but it's pretty solid. I put some foam padding behind the bracket so that it wasn't rubbing metal on metal. I've already marked my lines. That X is where I need to cut. That is the feed, that is the return, and I'm going to first make a one to go from our fuel rail, and this will be our feed from here. So we're gonna have, I think I'm gonna do the feed coming in here and then going up here, and then the return will be this one, and we'll just tuck those over out of the way. I'll put a screw in there and secure those down somehow. So that's pretty much the last thing I need to do other than our brake booster hose. And once that is all set up, we're ready for our first fire. I went ahead and made one of the lines. So this is the line that feeds from the fuel pressure regulator up to the rail. I've not tightened any of these. I don't know that for sure that won't be in the way of my proportioning valve, but I can always remake this one. This one's a super small and I got plenty of line left over. So I've marked these, my return and my feed here. And then I'll mark this one as the feed. So I'll take that off. I'm going to pull these down under the car. I'm going to raise it up and I'm just going to make the lines there. And I'll disconnect them and blow them out before I actually put them back on the thing. But these two lines are the last ones to get fittings, these two fittings. And then that will be the last of the fuel pressure regulator setup. And that should be NHRA legal. I'm sure somebody will tell me if it's not, but I wanted to put it up here out of the way to make this nice and clean. Unfortunately, if you put it there, it's not NHRA legal, which means I wouldn't be able to go to some tracks. So I think that's a good compromise, and it kind of looks like it fits there. The gauge sticks out a little further than I'd like, but it's not really in the way of anything, so we're going to leave it like that. So while I wait for a new riv nut gun that will fit in here, I have this. This is basically a steam port adapter. So the steam port here needs to go back into a high point on the radiator, and you can tie it over there on the radiator, which I don't think I've shown you. I have a radiator and some fans I've been test fitting. But I don't like stuff going all the way over there if I can just put it here. So we're going to splice this hose, and essentially what we do is just make a cut, and then we'll need to take, I think we're going to need to take about 1 inch out of the hose, and then that steam port will basically go right like that. I think that'll be nice and clean. And so I'm going to kind of measure this. Sorta. I might measure, I might just eyeball it, but it'll be covered by whatever air intake we use anyway, so I'm not terribly worried. But let's go ahead and do that. At least I feel like I accomplished something. I think that's going to look best right there. All right, let's chop this thing. I think that's fine. I'm going to take a little more off of that. Yeah, in case you're wondering, I missed. You know, this one will go like here, and then we're gonna need to shorten it some. So I still need to get hose clamps and all that, but this looks really good. So this will route the steam line back into a high point in the system, and I think that's an elegant way to do it. Our air intake will come right along here, so you'll barely even see any of that. I like it. This is an ICT billet piece as well. I got it off Amazon. I'll link it in the description if you're interested. And then there was an NPT 1/8 inch thread thing. I'll link that too, because I don't remember what exactly it was called, but that worked out really well. And this is the upper 4th gen F-body upper radiator hose. Normally there would be a power steering cooler in here, but those are prone to leaking, and we've already put one down underneath. So that, I think, is the best solution for what I needed. It's about time for me to button up the cooling system. As you can see, I've got my steam pipe vented here. Instead of using clamps, I'm going to try these Gates power grips. They're basically a heat shrink clamp. And definitely here I want to hide that as much as possible, and then on either end. So I've got 4 of these. These all should be, this is 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. That's a 32941 Gates. They're on Amazon, they're like $5. So I'm going to take this off and go ahead and slide one on either side and see if we can heat shrink that and see what it looks like. Okay, so here's this clamp. As I showed you, the way you get it off of the cardboard is just fold that cardboard in like that, and then you can pull it out. Pro tip, that will remove the lettering. If you're like me and you think the lettering's terrible, there was actually lettering all here and I took it off already. So this should just slide on like this. It may not go around the curve actually. Okay, change of plans. I had to take this off. So we're gonna slide that back on. That should just go right up to there, and then we'll heat it, but I'm gonna double check it on the car. I don't want to get it in the wrong place. And same with the other one. So here's another one. You can see there's lettering there and there. We're going to take all that off before we put it on the car. All right. I'll link these in the description of the video in case you're interested in them. I think they're really cool, and for $5 they're way better looking than a regular hose clamp. So we're going to take this back over to the car and just double check to make sure that we've got this lined up before we actually heat it. All right, this says to heat shrink it about 1/3 of the way around. Since we've got access, I'm going to just do the whole thing. Let's see what happens. Looks like it worked to me. I like it. Let's get those logos off of there. Solid. So one of the things I don't like about these hose clamp thingies is they're super loose. Or they're not, I wouldn't say super loose, but they're looser than I'd like to be. And so I printed these. These are done in TPU, and they just slide in there and they clamp these. I did them in red. I originally did them in just whatever I had laying around, and it was green. Green doesn't go on this build clearly, but so I still have a handful of these, and I'm going to go ahead and finish swapping these out. That just secures the thing really nicely. I still need to do some of those up there and some of those in the front. So we're gonna go ahead and knock that out. Working on the throttle cable. This is out of the 3rd gen. It's actually from our 88 parts car. This is the end that would go onto the throttle body normally. I've already pulled out the wire. This is the firewall piece, and that's the part I'm interested in. So I've got this piece from Amazon. It's probably just, kind of a cheapo one, but we need to heat this up and pull this end off, and then we're gonna put that over here on this end, which I've labeled as firewall. That way we can go ahead and have that snap into the firewall. We'll run our wire back through and terminate that. This is cut to length, so this pops off and I can cut it to whatever length and then put the cable in. So I think that's going to work out well. Well, that wasn't much of a struggle. I heated both pieces up and this popped out. So what I'm going to do now is this end here, not that end. That's the end that goes towards the gas pedal. I'm going to drill that out slightly so that we can thread that in there. And then once we're able to thread that in there, it'll need to go, I don't know, I'll measure however far that is. Then that'll be the end of that, and it just needs to push into the firewall with the cable. And then the other end is where I'm actually going to shorten it so that it's the correct length, whatever that needs to be. It's 36 inches is what this cable is. I don't think we need all that, but I don't want it to be the wrong length. So, and then the final step will be to shorten our cable that I just dropped. So we'll shorten that to whatever it needs to be. There's a metal ferrule here that'll hold it in the throttle body. I'm gonna sit that over there so I don't lose it. All right, I was successful in getting this piece on. This is the part that goes to the pedal. This is the firewall part. And we've got plenty of cable on this end. And so next up, I'm gonna put some heat shrink on just to kind of cover this end. I wish I had a longer piece, I'd cover the whole thing, but I just want to kind of weatherproof it a little bit. Went ahead and tidied that up. I think that looks pretty freaking good. So now I've got to go ahead and cut this thing to length. And that way we can put this on, get everything dialed in, and then we'll have a working throttle. So that's going to do it for another episode of Stebbins Garage. We're really close to first fire on this car. I hope you'll stick around for the next video where we're going to get this thing started and we're going to try and get it on the road really soon.